Good morning, it's Terry at Painted Garden Farms. Yes, I know I have Bozo hair today in gray. This is what Bozo would have looked like as an old lady. Anyway, I'm trying to catch my breath here because I am snake phobic, and we have a garter snake that we just discovered on the property yesterday, and he just scared the crap out of me. And I know he's harmless, and I know he's good. This guy's been eating good, man. He's huge. Anyway, so he just went under the pool deck when I walked up past the pool. I scared him, and he scared me in return. So if I ever get a shot of him, I'll show him to you. Now every little rustle I hear, I think it's the snake. So anyway, I just want to show you what I'm up to in the garden really quick. So let's see. I made a video last week and haven't posted it yet. I have a lot of work to do. I've had a lot of stuff going on. Let me get away from this bag that's crinkling and making me think it's the snake in the grass. Anyway, yeah, I've had a lot of stuff going on. We had company. I had a lot of laborious tasks to do. Like, I got another delivery of soil, and I had to wheelbarrow it all down to the garden myself. Lots of good stuff like that. We also, what did we do? We uncovered the pool yesterday, as you might have seen. So that was, uncovering it's not so big a task, but it's, I had to scoop out what little bit of leaves was left in it from last year that we weren't able to get out, and stuff that blew under the cover when it partly blew off one time. Things like that. So, yeah, we had company, and we were trying to catch up on housework because I've been doing gardening work, and it's just been crazy. So I haven't had time to sit at the computer and do any of my editing jobs and uploading to the screen. So you're probably going to, at some point today, see this video and last week's video. So I apologize for that. I try to stay on top of things. I really love doing a channel, and I want to keep it going and not drop it like I did before when things got a little rough. So, here we go. First of all, again, the pool is almost open, but it's a little slimy. We've got out some of the lawn furniture going and things like that. Freshened up the space. And now I got gardening stuff all over it. Now, I know that snake has a way to get from under that deck to under this porch and out the other side pretty quickly. So he might be over here in the grass, and that's fine. I'll just, if you hear me gasp, it's because I spotted him. He was, at one point, went to hide in that tall grass and was peeking out at me. I was like, oh, you're a snake in the grass. That was yesterday. So anyway, apparently he lives around here, and he's going to be eating the bugs under the deck, which is okay. I'm not afraid of him specifically. I'm afraid of bitey snakes. He's not a bitey snake, and he can hang around, but just being startled by him doesn't work for me. Alright, so here's my strawberries in the stacking planter that I never stacked yet. I'm planning on doing something about that today. My lettuce in the window box is doing extraordinarily well, and I've picked out some of the baby lettuce for salads a couple of times. This is sedum I got from a free plant sale, Autumn Joy. I'm going to figure out where to plant that. And let's take a walk to the gardens. So I didn't want to go any further without checking in with everybody and let you know what I'm doing. So these are my peppers. The three tall ones at the far right here are the jalapenos I was gifted for Mother's Day upon my request. The rest are sweet peppers. There's Etudia, lilac bell, and Lycia, which is, as well as those did sprouting, I only ended up with one that survived. I tell you what, I am not going to plant so early next year. I planted too early, and see the varying sizes of these pepper plants? They were all planted the same day, and what the heck. So I gotta have a greenhouse and plant later next year. That's just garden goals. Alright, in the corners, if you can see this little green sprout, I had planted and I was starting to lose hope on nasturtiums. But they have all popped up, pretty much. And they're doing quite well. Even the ones along here, they just popped up a couple days ago, and all of a sudden they're going gangbusters. It's like early maybe Tuesday or Wednesday they suddenly sprouted, and they're going crazy. So whatever I got in this dirt is great. Huckleberries, I transplanted them yesterday. Now the reason you're seeing these now is because I like to do seeds in the morning and transplants in the evening. The reason for that being the conditions in the evening are usually less harsh. It's, the sun's starting to set, it's not strong. They won't get cooked on their first day out, and then they can sit in the dirt and settle their little roots in and get a drink from when I water them in. And it's, cool like in the house. The house is not very warm. They've grown in kind of cool conditions. And I have hardened them off, brought them out a couple of times, but then it keeps ending up being on the weekends and they don't get to come outside during the week. So I'm like, this is ridiculous. They gotta get outside because they're suffering being inside. I tried opening the window they sat at to let them have breezes and stuff. So I watched a video recently on garden huckleberry, and apparently they grow like gangbusters. They will grow crazy in any kind of crappy soil conditions. They're not picky, and they will make a nice big shrub and be very prolific in fruiting. So we're going to test out that theory. So this should give me really a lot of huckleberries, supposedly. Over here, the broccolis, they're still in some kind of stasis. I don't know if I'm going to get broccoli because now it's getting warm. It's almost June. I'll give them to the end of June before I rip them out and stick something else in there. Or at least as long as the peas. So the peas, they're really starting to get going now. Even since yesterday, they've gone quite higher than they were. And I haven't tried. You know what? Let's take a taste. So these little thingies, they're little tendrils. Sorry. Bad videography. Alright, so these little tendrils, they have tons of them. This particular pea. And they're supposed to be tasty. I'm chewing it up right now and it tastes like peas. So, I guess if they're nutritious, it's like grass that tastes like peas. Actually, it has a little bit of a chivy taste to it. Now that I've chewed it, it almost feels spicy. I don't know. It's alright. Not killing me. Anyway, that's the peas that I planted back in March. And they've been in stasis for a while, but now they're starting to really pick it up. There's another nasturtium over there. Right up against the wood. It's doing quite well. So I'm hoping, because I've never really had luck with nasturtiums at my old house. I'd put them in pots and stuff and they didn't do anything. And I did them in a little center raised bed between the two queen size raised beds, and they didn't do anything. They got maybe 2 flowers and died. So I'm really happy. I planted some Cajo watermelon seeds here yesterday at this very end of the bed, and I'm figuring that they're gonna go out over into the yard, and I'm gonna have to, once they start vining, I'm gonna have to fence off the area so Dan doesn't mow them. And next year I'll put a bed with stuff that likes shade part of the day. Here yesterday I seeded cucamelon, or Mexican sour gherkins as they're more properly called, and I am fixing to plant over here my red Chinese noodle beans. also still in stasis. Oh, wow, there were these little nubs in the garden yesterday, and I said, I wonder if that's a mushroom. Well, they grew overnight into full-blown mushrooms and practically blew out and died here. Jeez. Well, 24 hours can do. So I'm going to just pick these out of here, because ick. They're icky looking. They don't look like a good edible mushroom. It's gross. They were just like this little nubby mound, 2 of them, and now there's 5 dead mushrooms on the ground. Alright, so here's another little nasturtium. These are some radishes I planted back in March. These are radishes I planted when the ones I planted in March didn't do anything. They're doing better. And then the rest of these green sprouts that are also in stasis are golden beets. So we'll see if they do anything. If they don't do anything by, I don't know, end of June, that's where my willy peppers will go, because I have sprouts of those right now. If these grow into something in a couple of weeks, that'll be about the time the willy peppers can go in. This is a pepper I grew last year. I brought it into the house because we'd had luck doing that with hot peppers, jalapenos. We've had a jalapeno pepper plant once for 8 years till we didn't bring it in quick enough in the fall. This, I think it's a pepper oda or pepper etudia, which is one of the ones I have multiples of over there. And it did live through the winter. A couple other ones I had did not. This already has flowers on it that it started growing in the house. Some of the leaves look a little rough, but that's okay. It's also growing some new leaves and some flower buds. So I'm hoping I'll get a decent picking of peppers off of this plant. What else do I got? Earlier this week I planted out some of the tomatoes. I have Yellow Perfection. I have this is a Barry's Crazy Cherry that's doing very nicely. This is one that was wonky and it's got a little bit of sunburn on its leaf. That's a pork chop tomato. And it was wonky from me turning it in front of the window. So it was growing a little this way, a little that way. So I planted it deep. It was really much taller than that. I planted it deep and put it up against this, and I'm probably going to have to pull it backwards to trellis it. And that's an orange queen there that's doing nicely. I forget what this little one at the end is. No, another orange queen. So that's just for starters on the tomatoes. Other seeds I planted yesterday were the kagutsa squash. This is how it's spelled. Kakuzi. You can't see my tag at all, so let me zoom back out. Anyway, it's an Italian gourd. It's got some funky looking little rectangular seeds. And they can be cooked much like a zucchini. You can put them in soup. You can put them in stir fries, apparently. I've never eaten it. I had to grow it because I saw somebody online growing it and they kept calling it kakuzi. And I looked it up and I realized that, you know, how it was spelled. 2 Z's in Italian is always spelled like TZ in English. So like pizza or mozzarella. So I said, oh, it's kukutsi. And then it dawned on me that it was what we were told not to break when we were little kids. Don't break your kaguts. By my Italian grandmother. Don't break your kagutsa. And it's your squash. Don't break your squash. Get off of there. You're going to fall and break your squash. I may have told this before when I showed the seeds. And that's okay if you haven't been with me before. You know, this is news to you. So anyway, it's kagutsa. It can be pronounced kagutsa or kagutsi. and it is an Italian Sicilian squash gourd, and it's supposedly delicious. If you like zucchini, supposedly you'll like this stuff, and I like zucchini, so I'm sure I'll like this stuff. So right here I have a little pot of Chinese noodle beans, red Chinese noodle beans that have been soaking overnight because it was recommended before planting. If you keep things well watered, you probably don't have to soak your beans, but I think it's just as good to give them a head start on softening up before they go in the soil, so that you know that you're just continuing a process that's already started. So I'm going to plant those, and this is the arch trellis I made that's on the other video for all these things to grow on. So I used the hoops from my old garden beds that I used for putting shade cloth on them, and for plastic if I wanted to extend my growing season, even though I didn't really do that much. It was there if I wanted it. And I just bolted them through my T-posts. After I banged in my T-posts, I screwed it through the little hole and put a little bolt to make sure they stayed. Zip tied them too. Zip tied the welded wire fencing on. Made this lovely arch, and hopefully soon we will see noodle beans dangling down in front of my eyes. In Kagutsa. I don't think the cucamelons get that tall, but they like a slightly shaded space, so I figured the inside of this would be good because the sun is mostly in that direction all day. So that will shade the cucamelons because it says they like it. So let's do this. I've just leveled the soil out, and you can see there are still a lot of lumps. This is the dirt I just got this week. There are lots of lumps from the compost, and I have mixed in peat moss, which is also a little bit lumpy still. And all this will break down over time, but I just didn't want the soil to be hard packed. Alright, so I'm going to take my red noodle beans, and I'm going to go right up here to where the cucamelons stop, and put these babies in. And I'm just basically every 6 inches or so going to poke them into the soil. I like to overplant or intensive plant because you never know. Filling the pool. Whew. I almost fell out of the garden bed, sorry. I really could have used more soil in this bed, but I couldn't believe I ordered another thing of soil and it still wasn't as much as I thought it was going to be. It was a great disappointment. So, anyway, now what I have in this green thing is the last thing I got from Burgess Seeds. I'm going to share it with you now. And they're already sprouting, so I feel like I could plant them today. These are my Jerusalem artichokes. Tubers. I'm not sure where to plant them. I've been debating it. That's why they're still not in the ground. I wanted to fill that up and put them in there, but I didn't have enough dirt. Soil. I didn't have enough soil. So I'm thinking maybe in the corners of this bed. So bear with me a second while I put the camera down and rip them out of their bag. So this is a big tuber. It needs to be cut in pieces. And it says they'll grow in poor soil, but will do better and make bigger tubers in rich soil. And they should be planted several feet apart. So I'm just going to put a couple in the corners of this bed and a couple over there between my elderberries because that soil's not so great. Maybe I'll put a couple on the fence near my blueberry. We'll see. So, anyway, I'm going to patch them around the yard, see what I can get out of them. So, and I will follow up with you, but this is a big tuber. This is what it looks like, and you can chop this up and eat it raw or cook it. So I will catch up with you on that when they start to grow. Huh? Oh, he's back. Oh, and the snake is out. Dan just told me the snake is out, so let me see if we can get a shot of my nemesis, the snake. Where is he? All right.
You're looking for a place to hide.
Yeah. There he is.
We can smell.
He's heat-seeking with his tongue. That's what they do. Plus he can see you. Oops. He's a big boy.
They get bigger than that sometimes.
Oops, sorry for my bad camera. He's bobbing his head around. Yeah. Yeah, we see you. I'm gonna name him Snidely Whiplash. He doesn't like that name. Snidely Whiplash. That's your name. He's very sneaky. I don't like him. He's trying to hide in the grass, be a piece of grass. I see you. Now you're a movie star. Alright. If you get big enough to eat chipmunks, then maybe we could be friends. I don't like chipmunks in my yard. Okay, we're back at 7 p.m.-ish, and I'm gonna plant out some tomatoes. So earlier I planted along here the seeds for my Chinese noodle beans, and it's now beautifully cool and breezy. We had a little windy rain shower. It's still kind of rainy. Kind of expected thunderstorms, but that didn't happen. The pool's done filling, which is good because these guys all need some water. The rain we had wasn't a soaking rain. So once I get these tomatoes planted, I will water them in, and I will water all these things well because they're in need. Everything needs a good soaking, I think. So the weather is calm. It's a little kind of breezy, which will give these guys a little bit of strength, taste of reality. They've been hardened off a couple of times out in the breezes and stuff. Hopefully it's been enough because, like I said, they'd get out for a day and then they would, something would happen and I wasn't able to bring them out. So I'm going to take my little shovel now and start putting them in. So I'm going to set the camera here. Oops, sorry. Set the camera there. Behind the beans, and you want about a foot of space. So the beans are there, so about here should be where I start to plant. So tomatoes, when you plant them, so as you can see, maybe my tomatoes all grew with a bend in the stem because they were leaning towards the light. I did not have the best setup for seed starting, even the thing you watched me build. So anyway, I want to take off their little first leaves because they're not good for anything. I'm gonna bury it deep and a little crooked. Try not to break any roots, because the fuzz on the bottom of the stem will turn into roots. So it doesn't need even this bottom branch. We'll take out. So that is an Osborne oxheart. I've looked up today whether all of these are determinate or indeterminate, and pretty much everything I'm planting is indeterminate except for I think Orange Queen. Okay, so my camera battery is about to die, but here we have 2 rows of lovely tomatoes. Looking good so far. They're gonna get watered in. And over here, Aunt Molly's ground cherry and a pepino melon. So I thank you for joining me. I please wish you would hit like and subscribe. Help me get my channel built. If you could share it on social media. My whole purpose is to show people that even in the suburbs or wherever you live, you can do it old school and make things yourselves, grow things yourselves, whatever scale you can manage. And you know, I like to paint furniture and I like to grow things, so my motto is I paint and I grow things, and it's fun to get your hands dirty. So thanks for getting dirty with me today, and I will see you next time. Have a good one.